Senator Mégie. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Dear colleagues, I rise today to speak to Senator Wu's inquiry. Its purpose is to draw the Senate's attention to the 100th anniversary of the Chinese Exclusion Act, to the contributions that Chinese Canadians have made to our country, and to the need to fight contemporary forms of exclusion and discrimination faced by Asian Canadians. As Senator Wu pointed out on February 14th, 100 years ago in this chamber, senators voted to implement the Chinese Immigration Act of 1923, better known as the Chinese Exclusion Act. Senators Couture, Simons, McCallum, Jaffer, and O have also spoken on this inquiry. They all described numerous examples of the systemic discrimination suffered by Chinese Canadians, as well as examples of the important contributions they have made to our country, despite everything. As I listened to my colleagues' speeches, they struck a chord with me personally. Far be it from me to lump things together, but Black communities have also been targeted by similar legislative measures here in Canada. The Canadian Encyclopedia points out, and I quote, "The Order in Council adopted on August 12, 1912 by the Cabinet of Prime Minister Sir Wilfrid Laurier aimed to ban all Black people from entering Canada for a period of 1 year because, quote, their race is considered unsuited to the climate and requirements of Canada," end quote. Although the time periods in question are different, the Chinese Exclusion Act was passed 12 years later, there are many parallels between the discrimination suffered by the Chinese and Black communities in Canada. This reminds us that, unfortunately, history repeats itself. It is therefore essential to fight the contemporary forms of exclusion and discrimination that Asian and Black Canadians face today. I would like to thank Senator Wu for his commitment to raising awareness of the systemic discrimination experienced by Chinese Canadians. The exhibition that he organized in the Senate foyer recounts the dark pages of Canadian history missing from our school textbooks. In his view, the exhibit showed a tangible link with the past, and it was a call to vigilance against all models of exclusion. This inquiry was echoed by Prime Minister Trudeau. An excerpt from his statement of May 14, 2023, emphasizes, and I quote, "The Chinese Exclusion Act bears witness to a dark period in Canada's history, the consequences of which are still being felt today. Like the Chinese Immigration Act of 1885, which imposed a head tax on Chinese newcomers to Canada, the racist law of 1923 almost completely prevented Chinese persons from entering Canada for 24 years. It remained in force until its repeal on this date in 1947. The systemic discrimination and racist policy separated loved ones, impoverished families, and reinforced prejudice against people of Chinese origin in Canada, causing wounds that will last for generations," end quote. Dear colleagues, we must absolutely seize the opportunity offered by this inquiry to strengthen our knowledge of history, our history of Canada, history with a capital H. Historians keep telling us, if we don't learn from history, we will be condemned to repeat it. As you note, it was 1911 and 1923 then, a few years later. We must never repeat such laws that discriminate against others. Our role is to pass on our values of inclusion and equality to future generations so that they can live in a country that is more just. To eliminate racism in any form, explicit or implicit, we must remain vigilant here in this chamber. Thank you.